Hey everyone, here Renato 3XL, this time on my own doing a voiceover. So I want to do this one because I really like this character from my friend Via is Drawing. You can check his stuff in Instagram. So this started as a draw this in your style. He sent me this character and I really wanted to do it because I thought it was a cool character of something that we call in Spanish a choni or choni. And the idea for me and this character was to make extreme pose with extreme proportions, trying to get cool shapes and a cool pose, because the character that he did was a little bit shorter and a little bit more rounded, and I wanted to push that as far as I can in order to get something cool. So basically I started with a sketch, as you can see, and I tried to get those shapes. Once that I have more or less the idea and the pose, I starting a little bit to ink it, not in a way that it's final, but in a way that it could be more clean for me to understand what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm trying to extreme that lines and get all that cool shapes in order to have what I have in mind. And one of the things that I really try when I'm doing this process is to, apart from cleaning up the lines, is to play with liquify. I really like that tool. I think it's a really cool tool to move things in a easy way, the lines that you are putting that are not really in place, and everything that is, it could be better. I like to grab the liquify tool and start playing around. Sometimes I push, sometimes I twist, sometimes I make things bigger or smaller. It depends a little bit on what I want to do, and as far as I can do, I experiment a lot. And as you can see now, I changed my sketch for this one that is even more extreme in the pose and in the attitude, that sometimes with your first sketch you lose that fresh feeling and you lose that flow that is really cool. So I use a lot liquify, and some of you may feel like using liquify is cheating. Maybe it's cheating, but I think as an artist you have to cheat on each thing that you're doing. So feel free to use all the tools that you have at your reach to make the best art possible. So as you can see now that the image is clear and the shape is clear, I really start to do the inking part. For this one, as for many of my drawings, I'm using dry ink. That is a brush that you can find in Procreate. Some of you have asked me that if I have something change in my setup for the brush, and I do have it, and you can check the settings that I have changed in my Instagram. I have a story dedicated to the new values that I have added to have this brush the way I want it. That basically is what they have in Procreate on the beginning. They released this brush in the beginning and then they suddenly change it. I don't know why. I guess they feel it was better, but for me it works worse now than it was in the past. So I just set up it to the values that it has in the past, and it works perfect for me. I use it for sketching. I use it for inking, and I also use it sometimes to fill with color and to do some stuff on the lighting and etc. So for me, dry ink is a must for me in Procreate. So as you can see, feet are always difficult to draw, and I usually draw a basic shape, and then I do the correcting work of putting the right anatomy into it. But yeah, I struggle the same as many artists drawing feet and drawing hands. So once I have this, that is the basic sketch and the ink, I go with flat color as almost everyone else. I like to draw everything in a different layer, because then when I have everything set up and all the colors in place, I can play with them and I can twist it a little bit. That is something that I don't use so much, because I think I choose the right color quite easily. But of course, there's always times when you have to reevaluate your color palette when you're drawing, and it's really easy when you have everything in a separate layer, and especially when you are working like that. Something that you can do really easy is to have all the shapes fill up the right way. So if you have to fill them up manually, sometimes you will draw over something and you have some color that is overlapping. But if you have everything in layers, it's way easier, and I think way faster to do it. So here is it. Here's the flat color, and now I'm start to add values to everything. So for the skin, I'm trying to put some different tones and different gradients that you can use to simulate stuff like veins, or in this case to add more values to that flat color. That is something that I like to do. And for this I use a brush that you always ask me which one it is, and it's Merced the Cartoonist. I bought it in Gumroad, and it's really good pack of brushes, so I really recommend you go to Gumroad and buy it, and don't worry about it, it's really cheap. I mean, for the use I'm doing it, it's really cheap. So we go for another layer, and in this time I'm doing some gradients to add more values and volume to the character. It's really, I like to do several layers of that, because I like to add more and more gradients to it, and I use that brush that I just said, the Merced the Cartoonist, because it has like a texture to it, and I really like the end result and the rendering that it has. And here I was trying to focus mainly on the hair, that, as you can see, is a huge volume, and I wanted to have something that is believable, but it's also soft and it has that shiny effect. So I wanted to add this to the drawing. So I spent quite much time trying to render in the right way the hair. I really like shiny stuff, and sometimes Mike always said to me that when I give him some images or so, he's always pushing me back all my shiny stuff, but I really like how the image starts getting volume and starts popping out when you add shiny stuff. I tried not to go too much over it and not to put so much crazy stuff on it, but for the hair, it's something that the hair demands to have that shiny spots and that texture of the small hair that is showing, and as I'm trying to do everything in a way that is more cartoony, sometimes it's difficult to get all that detail. But anyway, once I had the hair, I start to add those. It's not an occlusion pass, but basically it's an occlusion pass. But I try to add more stuff than just the obvious occlusion. I mix it a little bit with drop shadows, but always trying to get that separation between all of the elements: the t-shirt, the arm, the belly. Sometimes just trying to pop up one part of the shape that I'm working on, maybe the legs or maybe the arm, something that makes that character to have that volume that I want to do. That if you follow me on Instagram, you will see that volumetric characters is not something that I use that I do a lot, because I like how flat things look, how things look when they are flat or something like this. Sorry. But yeah, I try with this one to pop up that volume and to add that. So for that purpose, I put that small ambient occlusion. And as you can see, while I was babbling around stuff, I put some brightness in the skin. So then when you have a little bit of your character, I like to put it in a place. And here it was really easy because I just took a little bit what Villa has done and I changed a little bit the expression, and I put all those Japanese letters that they always look cool. And I go for the paths that I like the most, but because it's when you really start playing around, because you have the character and it's like you are putting lights into it and you are starting to see things and to make it feel different. So in this case, I wanted that orange to come from below to pop up again that volume and to have that coherence between the orange in the background and the light that is coming from below, and to get a huge contrast between up and down. I put blue on top of the character. I imagine that there's a blue light over her that is light her up and lighting her up. So if you see my artwork, you will see that I use a lot of rim lights, and I love rim lights. I think it's something that makes all the scenes more dramatic, and in this case I wanted to have a little bit more cool stuff on it because it was a little bit flat and I didn't want that, so I put that rim light, and it makes a contrast. As I said, the blue from above, the orange from below, and the character in the middle. Everything pops up, everything has a volume. There's a fight between colors, but that fight is also in the main colors of the character, because you have a blue character in an orange background. And now, as you can see, there's the final touches. I have that light that is lighting everything that is below the character. I used to have, as you can see, I place the same character in perspective to get the shadow right, and then I move it a little bit. When I'm not really into the final touches, I like to draw them again and tweak some stuff. But finally, when you get that image that is telling you something inside of you, that is moving something, and you can feel with your guts that that's cool, or I did a good job here, always there is going to be something that you can improve or something that you can do better. But I think it's really important to finish stuff. I learned a lot doing this. I experiment lots of stuff that I didn't do it in the past. I love to grab something new and say, okay, how can I do this differently? How can I do this more interesting for me? Because I like to learn, I like to experiment, I like to do crazy stuff. what you can get is a lot of crap. You can do lots of crappy drawings, and I assure you that I have lots of crappy drawings. You can just check my Instagram. But everything that you get out of it is an experience, a new experience, and new things to do stuff, new ways to do stuff. So keep on doing, don't give up. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this wasn't too heavy or too not interesting. I try to keep it as fast as I can because my English is not perfect, and I know I start babbling and start doing but my intention is to give this to you for you to have something to hear. I hope you like it, and see you soon, guys.